kwa ba biom ba ya channel yi so na enno na yura na nabda nkwa akufa ya Ghana mampanyi a na me aduma January 7th ya kwa hand over the incoming government yura John Dramani Mahama enno na okọ na shebedwam ya Parliament of Ghana command the State of the Nation's address. Now, the State of the Nation address we know say or maybe I won't say majority side and minority side will be able to make us. Now, I know a year the minority leader went to me and benching the deputy now. It's me by a friend a year, Mr. Honorable Armah Buah. Ghana man penikasa we and no kasa on behalf of the minority na owie okasa no nsembo on mod to ga ankoye grama ekofa bufu bae ebehwa na eye Ghana mampanye na hokani Maame Rebecca Akufo-Addo ode bufu kwa free parliament o ekofi wa bra na wo se komo pon ye no kwa na wo so ko havidina o ntimi kwa ntwen anko havidina no chai kaya ye behwa na Speaker of Parliament Yewura Bamba Benkwa try senka wo chia no ba was no be no kan so twifa so echo efie chance ade na ye deputy minority leader ye no onu hu ni say disrespect to ne husband ye Nana Adudanko Akufo-Addo ehun sem bebre efi abontin ba ne be kwani akwa akohwe de ekwesi potema sa ebufu ni ba ko se ma mi Rebecca de ye ntina no ne kasa mpo na jese ya be hu eye ebufu sa ewo ne so ti enkwani enkohwe de esi ye mre edamwase
hopelessness and more. We have come to the end of the road for what has been undoubtedly the worst government under the Fourth Republic.
You sit there and let people speak. Yeah, thank
you. Yes, it was unfortunate that she felt that way and showed it. But you know how many Ghanaians felt the way she felt about Buah's comment? How many Ghanaians felt the way she felt about Buah's comment? And the facts on the table do not project what he said. It's not the Akufo-Addo's facts. They are facts. Do not project what he said. And he did not show knowledge of his own circumstances. And then he used those words, which she considered vile, against her husband. I don't know what others feel about their spouses, but as far as I'm concerned, she was protecting her husband in the best way she knew how. And if she's not going to project herself pretending, like some people would like her to do, kind of pretend, she won't do it. And you see, I get very worried when people think you should rope other people and go, why are you comparing Mrs. Mahama to her? What has Mrs. Mahama done? That you need to rope her in and create an environment around her. Why? I don't know why we can't stick to issues. Now, Nana, for your information.
Just a quick one. I think the reason why the Mrs. Mahama matter came up, which is
unnecessary.
No, hold on. No,
it's unnecessary.
It came up because, and I think I get where Honorable Mutala is coming from, because a certain principle what he's trying to establish, that once upon a time, all kinds of things were said about her and her husband.
You know what was said about Nkrumah?
I mean, no.
You see,
it's about the
you're trying to justify what he's saying. And I'm saying it is unjustifiable.
It's important that I contextualize things so that even if you disagree with me, that's fine.
But I've already established my position. I disagree with
that's fine. But I'm saying that maybe after the context has been set and you still go ahead and disagree, that's fine. But I'm saying that there was a principle he was establishing, which was to expose the double standardness of politicians. And I'm sure that he will be the last to say of politicians.
He was establishing
double standards. Yes, which is that there was a day in this country where the First Lady, or the former First Lady, was taken to the cleaners. All kinds of things were said about her and the husband. The point he was trying to make was that look at her demeanor and her reaction when those things were said about her as compared to what Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo has done, which is to say that he would have expected her to understand that that's the world in which she finds herself, which is a poor shot to be taken at you. People say all kinds of things about you and the husband, but it is what it is. Democracy is also the ability or the capacity to absorb the kinds of things people have said. So that's the point he was making.
Yeah, and
that's how the name came into the picture. I don't know whether that helps your analysis.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Because
okay.
Mrs. Mahama is not Mrs. Akufo-Addo, and Mrs. Akufo-Addo is not Mrs. Mahama.
I get that.
And so
two different personalities.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Right.
And when you go into the details, all kinds of factors come to play.
True.
To nullify that position
Right.
that because Mrs. Mahama tolerated it, so somebody should tolerate it.
So she
it doesn't work
tolerated.
like that.
Okay.
And you see, standards are different, and they are set for a purpose.
Absolutely.
Now, Nana, I was coming to you. Mr. Addo did not die.
Who's Mr. Addo?
No,
So you don't even know his name.
Michael Addo.
Mr. Ajekum. Yes,
Kama Industries, yeah.
Die under your
Because of
secretary.
GDP.
It is not true.
No, but he
Stop roping them in. You don't know the facts.
But some people
you don't
die.
know
Some
him.
people
No,
But
why
some
did you
people
mention
die.
his name? I'm saying you don't know him.
Yeah, the point he's trying to make is that yes,
Don't do that.
the man complained.
Why?
But how do you then
You have no
relate
basis.
his death?
Because
You were going with everybody's rumor.
Yes,
Go to
that's
the
what-
family
yeah.
and ask
But some
them
people
whether
die.
that is
And
what
their
happened.
families-
No, I get it. I get the point you're
You see,
making.
it becomes crass when you do things like
No, but
that.
Uncle,
When the issue on the table, you don't do that.
But also your choice of words is unfortunate.
Yes.
It is.
No,
Yes.
it's unfortunate.
No,
When you
listen,
say
It's
it becomes
unfortunate.
crass,
It becomes
no, that's
crass. No,
unfortunate.
because it is
Mo,
unfortunate because
Mo,
you see the point
Mo.
is that there was a video going round.
That's a fact. But also, how do you connect that
No,
to his
I am
death?
saying that the video going
some
around
people
of the
die.
man
Yes.
saying that
Well, I heard all of that.
And so he went to die.
his bonds.
Yes.
And life was so difficult.
So
for
he
him.
died.
Do you get me?
Yes.
So you can link it to the fact that
You
maybe
cannot.
this man.
How can you
this man
rationalize that?
is a medical
And when I say you say I
he's a
should say-
pharmacist.
Yes.
Do you get me?
Yes.
So I mean, this thing. It is not an easy thing. No.
And I agree with you on all of that.
And so
And I
if
will
he
say,
says-
how do you know? Say,
No,
be cool.
listen, I'm not saying that I don't know.
You don't say that.
So that's where it's coming from.
You don't say that. Statements in terms of medical proof.
Okay.
And we've been told by people
Yeah.
that people have passed away out of suffering from
True.
this. Is it not a matter of fact?
That's true.
But we don't have names. Why do you mention this one when you don't know for a fact? And look at what we have done. And that's my point.
What have
She's
we
just
done?
You don't do that.
What
She's
have
just
we
clarifying.
done?
That is not how you do things.
Nana, she's just clarifying.
You don't do that.
She's
We are Ghanaians.
Okay.
When somebody passes away, you know the customary.
Don't shift the
things
argument.
that you do
The argument.
in 2020.
Yes, to electoral politics.
We all seem to have forgotten that when he made that comment about
Was putting his presidency on the line.
it was before the 2020 election.
That's
it was
true.
in his first term.
Right.
And he had taken action. We've forgotten about that.
Right.
We've forgotten about that. And you know what's funny about these things is I don't recall, and I stand to be corrected, I don't recall that he condemned previous actions and started work.
On the galamsey.
He did.
I don't recall that he did that.
He did.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't recall, and I stand to be corrected.
That's fine.
To the point where people involved in it in the previous administration were supportive of his actions in some cases and were giving information publicly, not covertly, about how to go about it. So clearly, it wasn't like there was no. Now, guess what was happening when he was fighting it? The NDC publicly was fighting against him and fighting for galamsey.
How?
Publicly. Why is it that when I'm talking, you want to talk?
Yeah.
When you're talking, I'm very
I'm not
quiet.
talking to you, I'm talking to Mo.
Yes, why?
Why I can't talk to Mo?
No. I can also talk tomorrow when you're talking.
Okay, Nana.
This is a television program.
Please go ahead.
But why are you angry?
I'm not angry. I'm being stern at you because I know you. You're a good
You want
friend.
to cry?
I know
Nana,
you.
Nana is,
I know you
Nana
from.
is-
You see what?
Nana is you on TV.
Term of my president. I welcome the many loud converts to the fight against galamsey that suddenly appeared in the run-up to the 2024 elections. Like at this, like at that. And he doesn't wish anybody ill. He says, and I pray that more and more of us get to embrace the need for the protection of our lands and water bodies. When I just now accused the NDC of it, do you know that, what's his name? Buah.
Yes.
And Dr. Aubrey.
Dr. Orban, the former minerals
were recorded by their own people, telling the people that they will allow them to do their galamsey when they win the 2020 election. This is not a recording I did, and therefore will be accused of doctoring. The NDC people, and that's how come they won those seats that the president refers to.
It's debatable, but that's fine. Let's explain.
They won the galamsey seats. What's the debate about it?
There's some galamsey seats that they didn't win.
Yes.
Not all the galamsey seats were
No,
lost.
what is your problem with my submission?
No, I'm just saying that. You see,
let me finish.
No,
because I haven't said anything different from what you are saying.
That's fine. But I'm just saying
I'm making the argument to you.
Okay.
That when the president makes this point,
yes,
this is the substance behind that point.
Okay.
That the NDC campaigned to encourage galamsey.
Okay.
And so they got galamsey votes. And we lost seats in those constituencies. That's a matter of fact.
Okay.
So when he sits somewhere and he's saying the things he's saying, he has no clue. And in spite of that, you see, people have talked about and he didn't do anything. If you take this thing and you list out the issues and the progress as a result, you see the difference. You won't have enough time for us to talk about everything. But after he has dealt with galamsey, talks about measures that have now stabilized our mineral industry and is opening up for opportunities so that the NDC government now has a responsibility to make sure that this vision that Kwadwo has pushed will become actualized. Because all the infrastructure has been put in place. And when I say infrastructure, I'm not talking brick and mortar alone. And he mentions all of that publicly. And we will find out as we go along. So, as for me, like all of you were trying to establish, yeah, it was political language by Armah, Buah, and the likes of Mutala, and Nanaya, and me. But on the ground, when office is handed over, January 7th, moving forward, we will see whether Kwadwo did something or not.
Okay.
And you see, I was talking about Mr. Mahama's.
Yes. Which of them?
As soon as his last sona.
There was, and whether you have any brief thoughts that you want to share on that. Hello, Nee?
I have.
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Yes. So two things.
What Mutala is saying is absolutely spot on. If you're the first lady of the nation, you need to accept that there's going to be a give and take. There's going to be a pretty brutal.
Doesn't she also reserve the right to say, I'm not happy with...
If you're the first lady of the nation, you need to accept that there's going to be a give and take. There's going to be a pretty brutal political exchange between political operatives in the arena. It's going to be brutal. There's a match going on. There's a difference between the parties, and sometimes this can be very, very harsh. But the leaders, the first lady, certainly should remain dignified and sit above the fray. And I think...
Doesn't she also reserve the right to say, I'm not happy with what you said about my husband? What's wrong with that?
In any democracy, people can have opinion. They are allowed to have their opinion. And certainly, given the statistics that has happened, the statistics show that this government has suffered the worst defeat in the Fourth Republic. There's evidence to point to what he's saying. I mean, but he's entitled to his view. We are all entitled to our view. I can call you the worst, whatever I think you are, but it doesn't entitle you to then attack me physically. You can go away and say it's untruth. This is based on untruth. You can go away and you can say, I shouldn't be saying this, or you can point out why you think this is not true. But I think also the occasion, you see, is a very, very important occasion. And this may not have been the forum to have had such an exchange. You could set the record straight at any different time. So I think, it just isn't, this is not a matter of balancing what is right in a democracy. This is not the occasion to become very partisan if you're first lady.
All right. Well, there wasn't a physical exchange. I think that I just need to clarify that point. It was just
no physical exchange. But I mean, if it becomes a shouting match, or somebody's openly pointing at somebody else, or challenging them on that basis, then I think.
Yeah. Well, maybe what I need to do, I need to send you the video myself, so you can watch it, and so maybe when you come back, you can make a more how do you call it? Maybe your perspective about the matter might change. But yes, general thoughts about this speech, and just briefly, and then I can go around the table. Yes.
I think this was political gymnastics by the president, because there are many, many instances in which clearly it was not based on the truth. When you take the issue of galamsey, for example, I think the president failed to acknowledge the gravity of the situation and to make it seem as if he's done his bit. And when you travel from Accra to Tema.
Well, yes, that's Nana Fredio, as we affectionately call him. Nana, I don't know you want to briefly talk about the video now that you've seen it before you take an aspect of the speech that you want to draw attention to.
I'll talk about the commentary around the table about the video.
That's fine.
I think that, you see, there's in trying very hard to take a certain stance. One must be very careful not to portray a double standard themselves.
Right.
Your appreciation of political language and thought is not the same as mine.
Right. Absolutely.
Good. Is Mrs. Akufo-Addo a politician by any standard?
Not strictly.
By any standard?
Not strictly, no. She's not.
Good. Is Mrs.